أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يسهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. My dear friends, brothers, sisters and viewers and those who are watching through Facebook, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is a great pleasure for me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me opportunity to attend this Tafsirul Mahfil. And for this reason, let us say, Alhamdulillah, all prayers, all praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is our only one creator. Inshallah, in today's Tafsirul Mahfil, we shall have a discussion on verse number 10 from Suratun Nisha. So as usual, at first, we shall go to the recitation as well as meaning of this verse. Then inshallah ta'ala we shall go to the elaborate discussion of this verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا وسيصلون سعيرا صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك. I seek refuge, I seek shelter to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the accursed devil, from the accursed shaitan, and I am beginning with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the most merciful, most beneficent. إن الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا. O people of the world, of course, those who are eating up, grabbing the property of the orphans unjustly. Innama, in fact, ya'kuluna fi butunihim nara. Those who are eating up the property of the orphans unjustly, in fact, they are eating up fire in their stomach. وَسَيَسْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا. And soon they will be entered in the burning fire. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said the truth, and His prophets and messengers have also said the truth, and we are among the witnesses. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the greatest. So this was the recitation as well as meaning of ayat number 10, verse number 10 of Suratun Nisha. We used to say Islam is a complete code of life. Yes, obviously, actually, in fact, Islam is complete code of life. There is no field, there is no sector, there is no part of our life where Islam does not give us direction, does not give us guideline. Orphans, yatim. Yatim means orphan. Yatama is the plural number of yatim, orphans. Now, if we have a look of our surroundings, what do we find? If we have a look of our surroundings, of our four corners of our society, we find that the orphans are being deprived, the orphans are being deceived from their property. Most of the people used to do not give them their due share, do not give them their due share of the property, and it is a heinous offense in Islam, and it is haram, it is prohibited in Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning the people of this world. If you deceive an orphan, if you deprive an orphan from his due share, from his proper share, and if you eat up his share, his property, eating up share of orphans, grabbing shares of orphans, amounts to eating fire in his own belly, in his own stomach. Now, inshallah, we shall go to some relevant other verses. Those are relevant in today's tafsir. At first, we shall go to verse number 220 from Suratul Baqarah. Verse number 220 Suratul Baqarah is relevant in today's tafsir. It is also regarding with the orphans. في الدنيا والآخرة ويسألونك عن اليتامى قل إصلاح لهم خير وإن تخالطوهم فإخوانكم والله يعلم المفسد من المصلح ولو شاء الله لأعنتكم إن الله عزيز حكيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving all the directions to us for our own welfare, both in the world and in the life of hereafter. That means for here and hereafter. If we do good, it means we are doing good for our owns. If we do good, we shall get reward both in here and hereafter. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْيَتَامَى. O Prophet, the people ask you about the orphans. قُلْ إِصْلَاحٌ لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ. O Prophet, tell them, behave justly with them. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُمْ فِي إِخْوَانُكُمْ. And if any guardian is maintaining an orphan, cherishing an orphan, if the property of the orphan is mixed with you, it is not a sin, because he is also your brother. Wallahu ya'lamul mufsida minal muslih. But you will have to think one thing, that you will always try to do good. You will always try to do welfare for the orphans. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that whether you are a good doers or wrong doers, it is very much known by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu ya'lamul mufsida minal muslih. Walau sha'a Allahu la'anatakum. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would wanted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have made difficulties for you. Inna Allah azizul hakim. Obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most powerful, all-knowing. All powerful, all-knowing. So this was verse number 220. In this verse number 220, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired people of this world to take charges, to take responsibility of the orphans, and try to perform the responsibility justly. This was verse number 220 from Suratul Baqarah. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 2, Suratun Nisha. Verse number 2, Suratun Nisha. We are discussing on verse number 10. And verse number 10 from Suratun Nisha is being discussed in this Tafsirul Mahfil. And verse number 2 of Suratun Nisha is also relevant in today's tafsir. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى أَمْوَالَهُمْ وَلَا تَتَبَدَّلُوا الْخَبِيثَ بِالطَّيِّبِ وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَمْوَالِكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حُوبًا كَبِيرًا. وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى أَمْوَالَهُمْ. Give the proper due, give the proper share to the orphans. وَلَا تَتَبَدَّلُوا الْخَبِيثَ بِالطَّيِّبِ. And do not exchange bad property of yours with the good property of the orphans. Suppose a father died, leaving 4 sons. 2 sons are major and 2 sons are minors. If both the major sons took the fertile land and give the unfertile land to the orphans, that will be most unjust. Whenever you will divide the property among the 4 brothers, take the fertile land equally and take the unfertile land equally. Do not give the unfertile land where crops are not grown to the orphans, because they are minors, they are orphans. They do not understand what you are doing, but you are deceiving him, you are depriving him from his proper due, proper share. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning people of this world that وَلَا تَتَبَدَّلُوا الْخَبِيثَ بِالطَّيِّبِ. Do not exchange the bad property of yours with the good property of the orphans. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. And sometimes we see in our society that the orphans are deprived wholly. They are not given even a share. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning people of the world. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَمْوَالِكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حُوبًا كَبِيرًا. And if you do that, if you exchange the bad property with the good property of orphans, and if you deprive them wholly, the orphans, from their due share, it is huban kabira. It is a great sin. It was verse number 2, Suratun Nisha, relevant in today's tafsir. So, treating orphans, maintaining orphans very carefully, is mandatory, is obligatory to us. If we are guardian of an orphan, it is obligatory to us, it is mandatory to us to treat them justly, to treat them equally, to treat them properly. It is the mandatory direction, obligatory direction from the Holy Qur'an by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now inshallah, we shall go to verse number 127 from Suratun Nisha. Suratun Nisha, verse number 127. This verse is also from Suratun Nisha, 127, part of the 127 verse, relevant in today's tafsir. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَأَن تَقُومُوا لِلْيَتَامَى بِالْقِسْطِ وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِهِ عَلِيمًا. As at the commencement of tafsir I said, if we do good things, these good things will help us ourselves. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَأَن تَقُومُوا لِلْيَتَامَى بِالْقِسْطِ. If you behave justly, if you behave properly, if you give the due share, due property to the orphans, وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ, it is a very good deeds. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِهِ عَلِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing it. It is being observed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means if we do just behave with the orphans, if we do not deceive the orphans, if we do not deprive the orphans, if we pay them proper property, if we pay them due property, due share, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us both in this world and hereafter, inshallah. This is the utterances of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. وَأَن تَقُومُوا لِلْيَتَامَى بِالْقِسْطِ وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِهِ عَلِيمًا. We say, there is a proverb in English, we used to say, honesty is the best policy. It is not a proverb, it is the utterances of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Honesty is the best policy. This proverb has come from this verse. وَأَن تَقُومُوا لِلْيَتَامَى بِالْقِسْطِ وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِهِ عَلِيمًا. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِهِ عَلِيمًا. It means honesty is the best policy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing everything. Everything is being seen by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is being observed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is being perused by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we are doing, what we are not doing, what we are hiding, what we are expressing, everything is being seen and observed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we do good, we shall get due reward. Because honesty is the best policy, it is the utterances of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this was part of verse number 127 from Suratun Nisha, relevant in today's tafsir. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 152, verse number 152, Suratul An'am. Verse number 152, Suratul An'am is relevant in today's tafsir. It is also regarding the orphans. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُ Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning people, wala taqrabu, don't go near, don't be nearer. Mal al yatim, don't be nearer to the property of the orphans. Illa billati hiya ahsanu, until and unless for their welfare. If an orphan is minor, and before at the very beginning I should have discussed this. Who is an orphan? According to Islamic language, an orphan is that boy or girl who has lost his or her father, and he or she has not yet attained majority. He is called yatim, orphan, in the language of Islam. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Don't be nearer to the property of the orphans without just reason. حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّ, until and unless he or she attains majority, until and unless he is matured. That means it is obligatory, it is mandatory to the guardian of the orphans. It is also mandatory, obligatory to the all people of the surroundings of the orphans to take care of the property of the orphans until and unless he or she attains majority. It is the direction of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 152 from Suratun. And in another verse about same thing has been repeated by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 34 from Suratun Bani Israel. Almost the same thing has been repeated by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 152 of Suratul An'am and verse number 34 from Suratul Bani Israel. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُ. Same thing. Don't be nearer to the property of the orphans unjustly until and unless he or she attains majority. We the lawyers of this society used to see that if after death of father, mother wants to sell out the property of the minor, and whenever she applies to the court permission to sell the property of the minors, mother has to make a statement in the plaint that she is praying permission to sell out the property of the orphans for the betterment, for the welfare of the orphans. And if by adducing evidences both oral and documentary, mother proves that it is required to sell out the property of the minors for their betterment, for their welfare, only then the Honorable Court used to allow the permission case to sell out the property. Otherwise, the permission case to sell out the property will not be allowed by the Honorable Court. We used to see in our judiciary, and this has come from the Holy Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُ. Don't be nearer to the property of the orphans unjustly until and unless he attains majority, he or she attains majority. So this was verse number 152 from Suratul An'am and verse number 34 34 from Suratun Israel. About the same thing has been uttered by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 17 from Suratul Fajr. In verse number 17, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Kalla balla tukrimun al-yatim. No, you do not respect the orphans. It is the general scenery of our society that orphans are being deprived from their due property. Orphans are being deprived from their due share of property. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you do not respect the orphans. So, depriving an orphan from his or her due share, it is a great sin. And that sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us in the Holy Qur'an in many places. This was verse number 17 from Suratul Fajr. And last relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 1 and 2 from Suratul Ma'un. In verse number 1 and 2, Suratul Ma'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمَ. O Prophet, have you seen those who deny the day of judgment? In Suratul Ma'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given some characteristics of the people who used to deny the day of judgment. As we know, the main dispute in between the believers and non-believers is the day of judgment. We the Muslims, we the believers of Islam believe on three things. We believe on Tawheed. Tawheed means oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma at-tawheedu imanun bi ilahi. At-tawheedu imanun bi ilahi wahid. What is Tawheed? Oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawheed means bringing faith on only one creator, and He is Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We the believers of Islam believe on Tawheed. We the believers of Islam believe on Risalat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent innumerous prophets and messengers in this world to guide the human being. And among them, our beloved prophet is the last prophet and messenger. And this Holy Quran is the last revelation from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And third things, we the believers of Islam believe on Akhirah, the day of judgment. We the believers of Islam believe that our tenure in this world, one day our tenure will come to an end. Our tenure in this world will expire, will be expired, and we shall have to meet death. And after meeting death, we shall have to remain present to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, to give accounts of our activities we did in this world. But all the non-believers of Islam do not believe on the day of judgment. They think that there is no life in the life of hereafter. Nauzubillahi min zalim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given some characteristics of the non-believers in Suratul Maun, and one character is that of non-believers, that فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمَ. The non-believers of Islam, the non-believers of Day of Judgment, is he who repulses the orphans, who does not give proper dues to the orphans. That means if we deprive the orphans from their due share, if we deceive the orphans by not giving them proper share to them, it amounts that we are disbeliever of Islam, we are disbeliever on the day of judgment. Nauzubillahi min zalik. What a great sin it is to deprive an orphan. So being a Muslim, we shall have to always think over it. If we have an orphan to us and he or she is still minor, it is mandatory to us, it is obligatory to us to give them their proper reward. And moreover, if you are the elder son of your father and your father has left 7 brothers, 6 sisters, but all the property is under your control, it is obligatory to you, it is mandatory to you to give your all brothers and sisters them proper due share. It is mandatory to you, it is obligatory to you to give, to call all of them and hand over all of them their due share, their proper share. Do not grab the whole property personally, individually, by depriving your other brothers and sisters, which is a great sin. And because of that great sin, this great sin will enough to throw you in the fire. You do not think that I am the owner of a lot of property, I am performing the Holy Hajj every year, I am doing many good things. By deceiving your sharers, by deceiving your younger brothers and sisters from their due share of property, if you perform Holy Hajj each and every year, this Holy Hajj will not come any good for you. It will not bring any good for you, because you are offering this Holy Hajj by the money which have been earned illegally, unjustly. And as we know, any ibadat, any good things, before acceptance of a good things, the condition is your earning will be halal, proper earning. Without proper earning, no good things will be accepted by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, from this today's Tafsirul Qur'an Mahfil, I would like to make a message to all the Muslims to treat the orphans equally, justly, to give them their proper reward, their proper share, due share, and try to be just with them. Because there is a hadith, our beloved Prophet has said that the cherisher of an orphan and I shall remain in the paradise. And he showed these 2 fingers. These 2 fingers is so close. If a person treat the orphans properly, justly, he will remain in Jannah with our beloved Prophet like this. So, giving due reward, giving due share, giving them proper property to the orphans is a great things which is acceptable by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know, our every activities are being recorded, and on the day of judgment this will be opened, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us reward of our all the activities. we are doing here. So, treating properly, treating justly with an orphan is an ibadat, is a good thing. And a good thing, a ibadat, means we shall get reward both in the life of here and hereafter. Now inshallah we shall go to an hadith. The hadith has been written both in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. An Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ijtanibu as-sab'u al-mubiqat. This hadith has been narrated by Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. He said, our beloved Prophet has said, ijtanibu as-sab'u, be careful from the 7 things. Al-mubiqat, those 7 things, those are destructive. Our beloved Prophet said, oh, my companions, be careful and save yourself from the 7 destructive things. Qalu ya Rasulullah wa ma hunna. The companions of our beloved Prophet said, O Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are those 7 destructive things? Our beloved Prophet said, Ashirku billah. First, making partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destructive. If anyone makes partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy him. Was-sihru, magic. Some people of our society are involved with magic. They want to do evil of others by doing magic. It is a destructive thing. وَقَتْلُ النَّفْسِ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ, and killing an animal without due reason is a destructive thing. Killing either people, killing either any animal without due reason is prohibited in Islam, and it is destructive. If you do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy you. Wa aklur rabu, eating up interest. Most of the people of our surroundings are related with the interest. Eating up interest means you are destroying yourself. وَأَكْلُ مَالُ الْيَتِيمِ. Only for this reason I have selected this hadith. And eating up property of the orphans means you are going forward your destroy to the destruction. Eating up property of the orphan means you will be destroyed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aklu malul yatim. Watawalli yawma zahfa, and fleeing, going back from the battle of field means you will be destroyed. Wa qazful muhsinatul mu'minatul ghafilat, and bringing an allegation, slandering a pious woman, a pious believer of Islam, woman, carelessly. Sometimes we slander women without knowing what is the actual fact. Without knowing actual fact, we used to slander an woman. No. Bringing any false allegation against a pious Muslim woman is completely prohibited in Islam, and if we do this, we shall have to face destruction of us. And for that reason, Allah subhanahu our beloved Prophet has forbidden us to do these 7 destructive things. So I have referred this hadith. Among these 7 destructive things, one is aklu malul yatim, eating up property of the orphans is a destructive things. And this hadith has been recorded both in Sahih Bukhari and in Muslim, muttafaqun alayhi. So in today's Tafsirul Mahfil, we have discussed about the right of an orphan, and it is obligatory, it is mandatory to a Muslim to deliver due share, to deliver proper share to the orphans and hand over the property to them after they attain majority. Before attaining majority, you guardian cannot deliver the property to him because he cannot make proper management of the property. You take care his property or her property of the orphan until and unless he or she attains majority. And whenever he or she will attains majority, it is obligatory, it is mandatory to you to hand over his due share to he or she. And if you do this, it will be a great job, and you will be rewarded both in here and hereafter. And if you do not do this, it is a great sin. And as I have said in verse number 10 of Suratun Nisha, eating up, grabbing the property of the orphan means eating up fire in the stomach. Na'uzubillahi min zalik. May Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from this great sin. And now inshallah we shall have prayer to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And before offering prayer, let us recite durood. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم آمين ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب هب لي من الصالحين رب زدني علما أستغفر الله رب هب لي من الصالحين رب زدني علما أستغفر الله اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى والله. Some of your servants have been gathered in this Tafsirul Mahfil, and we have a discussion from verse number 10 from Suratun Nisha regarding rights of the orphans. Oh Allah, we have made many mistakes. Please forgive our all the mistakes and accept this Tafsirul Quran Mahfil and make this Tafsirul Quran Mahfil a media for our Jannah. Oh Allah, forgive our all sins. We are offering forgiveness to you from our all sins. Please forgive our all sins and make decision for Jannat for us. Oh Allah, our parents, forefathers who died, please forgive all of them. Oh Allah, you know what is in our heart. Forgive our all good desires in our heart. Oh Allah, please increase our sustenance. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله